How are you doing? I'm Tom with Tom River Simple Living, and today I want to talk about lightweight hunting rifles. Now, I've noticed over the past few years that there's a lot more interest in lightweight hunting rifle these days. And more companies are coming out with their particular lightweight hunting rifle and promoting them. And the appeal of a lightweight hunting rifle is pretty obvious for us hunters. And this is my personal lightweight hunting rifle, Winchester Model 70 Featherweight. And those of us going into some hard to get to places and hard to get out of places, after a mile or two, you really appreciate that weight savings. And because of that, I have really come to love this rifle. But with all the promoting I see out there these days of lightweight rifles, I don't hear anybody mention any of the negatives. And that's why I felt like I needed to do this video, just for any of you out there that are considering a lightweight rifle, so that you're aware of the negatives that come with it. For those of you that already have one, and if you're having any issues, maybe I'm going to touch on some things here that'll help you out. And let me say that companies have had the ability to produce lightweight hunting rifles for a long time. Winchester came out with the Featherweight in 1952. All right, so this isn't something that we're just all of a sudden capable of making. And the appeal of a lightweight rifle, it would have appealed to hunters 50 years ago just the same as today. None of us want to carry more weight into the woods than we have to in a rifle, especially given all the other gear we're carrying. But there's a reason the lightweight rifles never were that popular, and the reason more companies didn't go after that market. And that's because of the negatives we're going to discuss. And the first one's pretty obvious, and that's felt recoil. And most of us are aware that with a lightweight rifle, the felt recoil is a lot more significant. For me personally, just for that reason alone, I would never get a lightweight rifle and a heavy recoiling cartridge. This particular one's in 257 Roberts. That's an absolutely wonderful cartridge for a lightweight rifle. And this rifle would be considered heavy compared to some of them out there, but even in this one, I wouldn't want a stout cartridge. 257 Roberts is about perfect in this. And for those of you not familiar with the 257 Roberts, it's basically a 243 with just a little bit more punch to it, at least with hand loads. If you get a heavy recoiling cartridge in a light rifle, you need to be prepared for that punch you're going to get from it. It's going to be significantly more. 7mm 008, that's a wonderful cartridge, and it's on the light side as far as recoil. But there are some rifles out there that will just flat out hurt you in 7mm 008, even though it's a lighter recoiling cartridge. And that's just because after a certain point, as far as taking off weight, you're going to feel the recoil. I wouldn't want this rifle in a 308. And a lot of people have talked about 308s being low recoil, and generally they are in a normal weight rifle. I've shot some rifles that they hurt in 308. So just keep that in mind, folks. That's something to, you need to consider with a light rifle. The next issue is accuracy related to the recoil. Now, I've heard it said that the bullet has left the barrel before recoil can affect your accuracy. Well, those people are what I like to call wrong. And I'm sorry, I just don't know no other way to put it. Recoil affects your accuracy. And I learned that with this rifle. The first time I fired this rifle, I went to the range and I put the gun on a bag at the bench, pulled the trigger, and it came back and kicked all over the place. It almost jumped off the bag. And keep in mind, this is a light recoiling cartridge. All right, the recoil didn't hurt. The best way I can describe it is it felt like I got hit by a ping pong ball. The rifle came back and it was just like it just bounced off of me and then just bounced all over the place. And it's like I said, it didn't hurt a bit. It just jumped everywhere. I seen then I had some things to learn. And folks, I'm here to tell you, I shot some horrible groups that day. I'm talking groups like this. I was scratching my head, wondering if something was wrong with the rifle, if maybe it's the scope, and eventually I just decided it had to be the recoil. I really had to do some digging then, and I had to learn some things. I had to take my shooting fundamentals up to another level. And I don't want to get too deep into this because I really don't fully understand it. But out there one day, just like the next weekend or something, I was determined to learn how to shoot this rifle. And I fired a shot that was one of the sweetest, purest shots I'd ever fired in my life. This rifle came straight back and it just sat on my shoulder and it didn't jump. It didn't move, it didn't budge. I could see the target through the scope the entire time. I could see impact. There was no movement here, other than it came back and then just settled right back in the same spot. Well, after digging into that, what I came to learn is when you fire a rifle and it's just absolute pure and you're holding it perfectly, it's not going to jump all over the place. It's going to recoil straight back and then go straight back and where it should be. And the best way to think of that is balancing the rifle on your shoulder. Imagine if you were holding a gun like this and trying to balance it. That's what it felt like, just for an instance. I mean, just because recoil happens quick, but just for that instance, that's what it felt like. And that kind of makes sense because you've got the force of the cartridge pushing backwards into your shoulder. All right. If it's set properly in your shoulder and there's no forces acting on the gun in any particular direction, you've got that force. Well, that's just like the force on the rifle from gravity right here. All right. Well, folks, that's a difficult thing to master there. And there's very little information out there about it, and I had to do a lot of digging to find anything on that. And I mean, again, there's very little on that. But, and I have not mastered that yet. I'm still working on it. I can say that is helping my shooting across the board as far as accuracy. Now keep in mind, I've been shooting a long time and I've never even heard anything like that talked about. And I'm still surprised there isn't more on that. And I would explain it more, but I can't. I'm still trying to figure it out. You know, I've got part of the pieces to that puzzle figured out, but not all of it. Matter of fact, if you figured it out, hey, please comment below. Help a guy out here. All right. Once I did that, that really helped with my accuracy. Once I learned how to control the gun. Even if I get a little jump now, it's nothing like I did initially. And another thing that goes along with that is I learned the importance of the proper cheek weld. When you get a good cheek weld, that alone really helps settle the rifle down. All right. And keep in mind, when I first started looking into all this, I looked up some videos, checked online. I was trying to learn all I could. I've seen several videos from experienced shooters that were talking about putting their free hand at the bench on the scope and holding the rifle down. When they did that, they could get their lightweight rifles to shoot then. All right, folks, that's not the way to do it. When your fundamentals are where they should be, you're not applying force anywhere on the rifle. You're balancing it. You're not trying to push it down or pull it down, or you're not doing anything but let it balance on your shoulder. Now, there's some guns I'm convinced that they have too much recoil for you to ever balance it perfectly on your shoulder. They're going to come back and go up. That's all that force, when it hits you and you stop it, it's going to go up. That force has to be redirected somewhere. And your heavy recoiling cartridges are supposed to go up. And that keeps it from the recoil being felt as much by you. The force is directed up. Then the weight of the rifle absorbs some of that force. So it's deflected off of you. But for a light recoiling rifle, you can do that. And that's, like I said, that's something I'm trying to learn more about. And the other factor is your fundamentals. Okay, a heavy rifle is not as affected by external movements as a light rifle. All right, when you put a heavy rifle on a bag, on the bench, wherever you're at, prone, shooting across a bag or a bipod, a heavy rifle, the weight makes the rifle want to just sit there. You have to apply force to move the rifle. Well, you don't have to apply near as much force to a light rifle to move it. So let's say you get a bad trigger pull. That bad trigger pull is going to be amplified in a lightweight rifle. You're going to see the results a lot more. All right. Any little flinch when you go to shoot, any little twitch, it's going to show up more in a lightweight rifle. They're just physically more difficult to shoot accurately. So your fundamentals, like your trigger pull, you've got to be on another level with a lightweight rifle. All right. I was not aware of these things when I got this rifle, and I've been shooting a long time, folks. Well, I learned some stuff from this rifle because of all that. And I'm comfortable with this rifle, and my groups now, I'm shooting solid 1.5-inch groups at 100 yards, which isn't great, but that's perfect for this cartridge, because I'm not shooting long distance anyway. 200 yards is my max with the accuracy I'm getting out of this rifle, which is 1.5-inch groups. But that would also be my max with this cartridge if it's 7 Roberts. It's a small bullet and it's going to lose energy quick. So it works out perfect. And the rifle and the cartridge, they're complementing each other. Now for you guys that, you're hiking mountains and climbing mountains and you're hunting, some really big game, and you need the distance and you need the, punch of a big cartridge. You need to keep all that in mind. All right, just because that's what you need doesn't mean you're going to be able to shoot it accurately enough to be able to, take an animal at 300 yards. That's, maybe you will. I don't know. We're all different. Maybe you pick it up naturally, or maybe this is something you've already dealt with and figured out and you're good. For those of you that's not sure, keep this in mind. Just be aware of this. And like I said, I don't see any of this mentioned with all the promoting of lightweight rifles out there. I don't think I've ever heard anybody mention a negative when they were trying to sell a lightweight rifle. So these are things you just need to keep in mind. And again, I've come to love this rifle. I'm willing to lose a little bit in accuracy for the weight savings, for those long hikes in and out. But, you know, I've shot this enough. I figured some things out. I'm getting decent accuracy from it. Yeah, I'm in a good place with this rifle now. I wasn't when I got it. So just be prepared for a little bit of a learning curve if you do get a lightweight hunting rifle. All right, folks, I hope this helped some of y'all out. And if it did, please give me a thumbs up. It helps the channel out. And if you want to see more videos, please subscribe. And if you got any comments or questions, just, hey, put them below. And I think that about covered it for lightweight rifles. And if I missed anything, add that in the comments. God bless, and y'all have a good day.